think about environment and I think about where water flows in a field. I think about the top of the hill and the bottom of the hill. Every farmer in the United States works through this situation. It doesn't matter where you are. And in Iowa specifically, I travel the state and I get all over into Nebraska a little bit too. And there's different environments. Guys have different opportunities and challenge in those environments. They have different role and landscape position and where water goes in their fields. And so if I think about total nitrogen required, industry always said, well, it's 1.0 NUE, so pounds of N per bushel of corn. But how much nitrogen do I need to grow a plant too? It's different throughout the field. It's different on the landscape you're in. If you're on the top of the hill, it's going to take more nitrogen to grow a corn plant than it is on the bottom. So we have to think about that. The organic matter supply. A lot of us haven't used organic matter much in our nitrogen recommendations. Organic matter is critical. So how much nitrogen and sulfur comes from your organic matter? A lot. And if we don't understand the variance within a field, then how can we create the right nitrogen and sulfur recommendation for a farmer? We can't. And so we need to make sure we're soil sampling correctly, getting the points in the right places, pulling to the right depth, using a good lab. All these things are critical. The growers I've worked with in the past few years, it's been some guys we've resampled everything because our organic matter maps and results weren't good enough to create a good nitrogen recommendation. And then the other thing I think about too is something that advanced analytics does is nitrogen loss potential. So when I sit down with a grower and I walk through their maps and we look at their yield data and say, hey, well, that's a wet acre. Okay, so why? Why is the yield less on a dry year? It's like, well, you still have nitrogen loss there. And what can we do differently in the recommendation or nitrogen stabilizer prescription to maybe accelerate the rate there, to make sure we don't lose nitrogen? That's probably some of the highest potential yielding ground you have, but yet it's the worst yielding. So what can we do about that? So timing of nitrogen sulfur, we need nitrogen sulfur throughout the season. And so did I pull it all out front? Do I have enough to carry me all the way through? Do I need to think about a Sidedress application if I get a lot of rain? Do I need more sulfur out to supply the crop? And so those are kind of things I think about. A lot of times when we work with growers, every grower starts at a different place at Advanced Analytics. I have a wide array of guys from strip till ammonia to 100% liquid. In every grower's operation, there's a situation that fits really well. If I'm thinking about timing today though, and I'm going to maybe apply nitrogen and sulfur up front. And so I have some options, right? I can split apply. I can apply everything up front because the farm's a little rougher. So, hey, can I put everything down right away and not come back in Sidedress? So the recommendation is, especially as you think about Iowa and some as we get south, we get a lot of rolling hills and Sidedress just isn't an option. Those are great targets to apply a lot of your sulfur and nitrogen up front to accelerate plant growth on all different acres to make sure we're ready. If we do dry out, those hills are where we're going to be at the most risk. And so I want to apply nitrogen and sulfur on those up front to really accelerate plant growth. A big flat, heavy black field and maybe around Fort Dodge, central Iowa with high organic matter is probably more suited for a dual application with an in-season pass. Find a local agronomist. We have agronomists across the state and across the Midwest. And so make sure you reach out to one of those guys because they want to be the experts on your farm to help you make better decisions and improve that return on investment.